During July, we headed north of the border. One of the reasons for our visit was to see the two remaining Class 33s in action. Following withdrawal last year, the final 4 were put into storage at Birmingham. Last Christmas, 3 were resurrected and sent north, 2 going to Aberdeen to act as shunters and undertake local trip workings, whilst the 3rd went to Motherwell to provide spares. Heading for Craiginches is 33025. Having collected its load, the 33 heads back to Aberdeen. Class 170s have been introduced on services to Glasgow and Edinburgh. They have proved to be very popular, so has the new colour scheme. But the main reason for our visit was to film the sleepers, whilst they were still in the hands of Res Class 47s. These were electrically hauled between London and Edinburgh, with the diesel taking over for the run through Scotland. Booked to leave Euston at 21:22, the return would leave at 21:40. Note the New Caledonian sleeper livery applied to the stock. The Inverness sleeper will remain 47 haured for the time being, but a change is likely during 2001. This is the 2103 from Euston. Heading south is the 2020 to Euston. The only daytime service to London is the 7:55 HST to King's Cross. Asthmatics, look away now. The majority of services to Inverness at this time were in the hands of Class 158s. Since then, Class 170s have been introduced on the main services south. On the far north line, the Royal Scotsman heads for Kyle of Lochalsh over the new River Ness Bridge. This is a regular runner during the summer months and provides 2- and 4-day excursions for the wealthy. On the Highland Main Line, a pair of 66s works the 1330 Inverness to Moss End Enterprise service. Alongside is the Strathspey Railway, which runs 5 miles to Boat of Garton. Shut by BR in 1968, the first train to run in preservation was in 1976. The Sheffield Supertram system, which opened in 1994, is the second of the next generation tram systems in the UK. The main differences when compared to other systems is that the stock is much larger, conductors are employed, and it has a greater percentage of on-street running. On the main line, Sheffield only has 2 daylight local-hauled passenger services. This is the 12:10 cross-country from Bristol to Newcastle. Other cross-country services are worked by HSTs. The station sees Class 101s on some Hope Valley services from Manchester. This former Strathclyde unit was transferred to Longside Depot following the class's withdrawal from service in Glasgow in the summer. Note the ever-present fitter, complete with watering can. The area also sees 3-car Class 144 Pacer units on some local journeys. Two-car Class 142s are also common, such as this one heading for Huddersfield. A limitation on the line speed of the East Coast Mainline is the famous flat crossing at Newark. This will be replaced by a bridge in 4 years' time. Heading north is one of the ill-fated North of England Eurostars, which since May have been on hire to GNER. This is followed by a Centro liveried Class 158 en route to Lincoln. In the background is the bridge over the River Trent. It was decided to replace this bridge with a new one, which would also allow the line speed to be increased. The new bridge can be seen behind and was built on site. It was put in place over the August bank holiday and meant that services had to be diverted between Newark and Doncaster. 7 Class 47s, including both Royal locos and Roy and Fiona Castle, were hired to drag the trains off the wires. Freight was also diverted. This is 56069 with the Hector Bow Plasmor concrete block train. Work has started on the upgrade of the West Coast Mainline. Stage 1 involved the modernisation of the track layout at Euston during the summer, last carried out during the rebuilding in the 1960s. This has allowed the track layout to be rationalised and conflicting movements eliminated. In addition, line speeds have been increased. The station is now effectively in 3 sections, allowing for simultaneous arrivals and departures from each. The net result is that more trains can use the station each hour. While the work was taking place, the number of available platforms was severely reduced. However, the majority of services kept running. What didn't help were local failures such as this 90. And this 87. We're on the disused mainline platforms at South Hampstead. Freight from the eastern joins at Camden Junction. Emerging from Primrose Hill Tunnel is the Purfleet to Crewe freightliner. Following the non-availability of a Class 90 at Crewe, the 919 Holyhead to Euston is worked by a Class 47 throughout. In fact, the 90s are going through an interesting period. Virgin have hired in a couple from Freightliner as cover. Freightliner, in turn, have restored a few Class 47s to former 90 duties, such as this, the Crewe to Ipswich. Whilst Res 90s have replaced Res 86s on mail trains. A quick change of weather, and it's the two mid-Hans 33s working a special to the Crewe Works Open Day in May. We visited Rugby in March to see its famous 100-year-old roof. This was removed in the summer as part of the West Coast Mainline upgrade. We're now joined by cross-country services from the Oxford line. It's not only the Virgin 47s whose future is insecure, the 86s will also start to be replaced following the introduction of the Voyager and Super Voyager units during 2001. Birmingham International Airport is situated alongside Marston Green Station, and here are two 737s. Birmingham's electrified local services are worked by Class 323s. Further into the future, tilting pendolinos will replace many 87s and 90s. Birmingham New Street is the heart of the cross-country network as all its services pass through from 4 different directions. This is the Birmingham International to Manchester Piccadilly service. Class 47s are often swapped for 86s here. Until their withdrawal in May, a 309 bound for Manchester would visit here just before 7 a.m. Note the front unit in unique Manchester Airport livery. A few North Wales 37s have been extended to Birmingham over the last few years. To save running round, they would generally arrive via Perry Bar, and leave via Smethwick. The Birmingham 310s bowed out of service in March, having been introduced in 1965 on stopping services to London. The majority migrated to the Tilbury line in the early 90s, but a few were retained for local journeys, such as this one heading for Walsall. On its way to Birmingham, on the one-way system, is the 634 from Holyhead. We'll now look at the second route taken by cross-country services to Birmingham. This is the line from Bristol, and its approach is up the fearsome 1 in 37 Lickey incline, the start of which is at Bromsgrove. Going downhill is a lot easier, as the 9:13 Liverpool to Plymouth shows. Sometimes the strain is too much, even for an HST. Going down is the Hull to Baglam Bay vinegar train. After 2 miles, the summit is reached at Blackwell. By the time Edgbaston is reached, the line is running alongside the Birmingham and Worcester Canal. We now return to the main line and carry on north. The end of the 37's one-way system is at Wolverhampton. The direct line to Manchester runs via Stoke. Here's an RFD 90 substitute on the 9:33 Euston to Preston. An unusual visitor comes off the curve from Manchester. This is a North of England Eurostar moving south to join the GNER. The majority of freight traffic runs via the independent lines bypassing the station. On this occasion, however, the Middlewich to Warrington Arpley was routed through the station itself. In their final days, Class 101s only visited first thing in the morning and in the late evening. This unit is bound for Llandudno and will spend the day on the Festiniog branch. A Class 37 heads for Holyhead. Let's just sit back and savour the atmosphere at this classic location. Stoke line rejoins the Crewe line at Cheadle-Hulme. As part of the Stockport area re-signalling scheme, the box was shut in August. Manchester Piccadilly saw one daylight return working from the North Wales line, the 1321 from Holyhead and the 1719 to Llandudno. These became unit operated in September. As mentioned, the final DMU workings in the country have fallen to those based at nearby Longsight Depot. These Class 101s were built in 1956 and were the most numerous individual design of all the first generation DMUs. They were refurbished in the early 90s. They will be withdrawn following the cascading of units brought about by the completed introduction of the 175s. The 309s saw out their working days here. This is the 1716 to Birmingham, and this is the 1733 to Stoke.